Hello, everyone, and welcome to this special episode of Quirky Inspirations with one of our fabulous VIP authors. I'd love to introduce you to Jacqui Penny. Now, Jacqui is from New Zealand, so sit back, enjoy this gorgeous accent as we talk a bit more about her journey through the mad book, The Making a Difference, ways to magnify abundance, vitality, and freedom. Now, Jacqui is a prolific writer. She's written blogs, she's written articles, she's a journalist, she's written another chapter in a book and looking at doing solo work. And so, Jacqui, tell us a bit more about you as a person and your writing excitement.
Ever since I was very young, I loved writing, and I do creative writing as well, but I do it with a sense of purpose. And I've always felt that with my writing, that I needed purpose in my writing. My characters had to come to an end that was something they learned through their experiences, as awful as they were. But this is the first non-fiction book or chapter that, well, apart from, obviously work, but book-wise, this is the first non-fiction chapter that I've written. And
compare with the fiction work then? I'm really curious.
Sorry?
How did that compare to your fiction work?
I found it so much easier to write in a way that it needed to be said. It was like I had a message inside me that needed to come out. And that message felt so strong. And I was trying to get that through my characters, which can be tricky. But when you just, I found writing the chapter lovely, cathartic. I hope it touches somebody, and it has led me on to other non-fiction work.
It has, hasn't it? Which is really exciting.
Yeah.
The thing is, as you were saying, when you're doing your fiction work, you're plotting out the plot, mapping out the plot, and getting your characters to follow along the plot. When it's telling your own tale, you kind of got that one all sorted, haven't you? Because it's your story, no plot required. You've got that.
That's right. But then I think a lot of us wonder if we're qualified. And what I think is experience is qualification. I have I'm a holistic life coach, and I've dealt with people, but also with myself. I think my experience means a lot to me and what I've learned through that. And I think it would be a crime to keep that to myself and to go to my grave, hopefully when I'm 137.
Right. Book that number in, everyone. Book that number in.
With no regrets. And I think I would have regrets if I didn't share my story.
Yes. Because I find in the work that I do is that there's so many of the speakers that come through, they've got really powerful stories. And if you know that your experience has not purely been for your benefit, but that you can share that wisdom with other people, somehow it makes the recollection of the really tough times a little bit easier, because it wasn't only for me that I went through this. Other people can share and learn from the crap I went through. Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly right. That's exactly right, Wendy. I think that we view our experiences differently, and we view these times I think it's important too, as learning experiences and how you've grown from that, and you take that with you. And I'm continually growing. I think we all are, but being on that right path for me was something that I had to share.
I mean, it is a very powerful story. Your chapter in the book is called Stairway to Heaven. It was of a certain age. Thanks. You love it.
I love that song too. Yes.
A brilliant song. Anyway, apart from that, tell us a bit more about a little taster of where that Stairway to Heaven title came from.
Okay, well, that was the culmination of living with fear and anxiety all my life. And I felt from as early as I can remember, I was very anxious, such an anxious child, to the point I had an eating disorder, little bits and pieces that happened to me, like I'm sure it happens to many people, when you don't realize how whole you are. You don't realize your whole self. And it just seemed to manifest in my physical body. I lost, just as a taster, I lost my hair also a little bit as I was growing up, living in going to girls' school was very difficult, as you can imagine, especially in the 80s. Not quite as forward-thinking as people may have been now. I may be wrong.
We're in a different era, aren't we?
A different era, that's yes. Right. And I took that on myself. I blamed myself. And I thought I was just hideous. And I had that all my life. And I took that inner child with me all through my life, even though I got married, I felt successful with everything I was doing. I had 3 beautiful children that they're just, my heart and soul. But there was something, that inner child was still there, and it was still affecting me. And how it came out was repeated H. pylori infections, and I'd get ulcers, which I think correlates very much with stress, because I know that that was the time that I always got the infection. And I had other infections. I got infection in my leg that had to be operated on. But
don't give us too much information.
I won't give you too much. So basically that led up to the stairs. Led up to the stairs.
The stairs. Tell me about the stairs.
So on the stairs, I was on the brink of death. And I think it's fair to say that I had ambulance officers not giving me medication because they thought I was pregnant, because I was internally hemorrhaging and bleeding. And I had an epiphany on the stairway as I was at the top. And really, I should have fallen down the stairs. I don't know how I made it to the stairs in the first place. But just looking out the window, I was encompassed by this light. And for some people, it may have been an epiphany. For me, it was spiritual. And it's changed my life ever since. And I've worked towards that ever since. And that was 13 years ago. That was when I was 36.
So the stairway for you is significant because from the top to the bottom, you had that epiphany, and now life has changed dramatically. So your heaven, if you will, was at the bottom of the stairs, thankfully not tumbly down. But you feel as though that is now where you're moving closer to and keeping forward in that momentum. Is that right?
Yes, and also I just had a sense of something other than myself. I was part of something greater. I was something, it wasn't just me. And I handed this pain over to, which was excruciating, over to something else. I didn't know what that was, but I just handed over to this light. And as a result, I knew I was going to be okay. And I kept saying to everybody, I'm going to be okay. To the ambulance drivers, they look so worried. I'm going to be okay. To, as I was walking across the floor with my daughter in tow, my 3-year-old, she said, "Are you right, Mummy?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm going to be okay." And she played zoo animals, thinking we were having fun. When I was just in excruciating pain and then passed out.
You can pick up the rest of that in the chapter. So thank you for explaining that the stairway to heaven was that pivotal moment in your story where you went from the super stressed, super anxious person to having that real epiphany and knowing that there was a purpose to this.
Yes.
Love it. Thank you for sharing that. So tell us a bit, that story has, you said it was 13 years ago, and you've had that evolution as you've been going. So what has this, as we said earlier, you've done a fair amount of fiction writing and some non-fiction in terms of sort of journal and articles and things. But tell us about your experience from the writing perspective of doing your first chapter in a non-fiction book. Tell us about that experience for you.
It was interesting because it's bearing your soul in a way that you don't do with creative writing or with work. And yet at the same time, it felt incredibly right. And I've always wanted to, as I say, I've just been more and more driven to share my message via any medium that I can, really. Writing is where I started, but any medium, connecting with people is what I like to do. And I love people, and I think each person has something special to offer. And I want them to know that. And I didn't know that. So I guess I see myself in every person I meet a little bit, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Hey, that's lovely, thank you. So that bearing of the soul thing is really quite important, isn't it? Because this is my second foray into writing a chapter, and likewise it was that there's a bit more of me coming out, and it's almost like there's a growth. Having spoken to all of the authors, this is something that's come out, that there's been a growth in each one of us.
There has. That's right, there has, Wendy. And it's interesting as you examine your story. One chapter you think, okay, well, I can write one chapter, but it's a chapter full of everything that you are. And I think that's powerful. And it's powerful for me, it's powerful for the reader. and hopefully on stage as well, it'll be powerful. So
absolutely, because that's the point, isn't it? We're taking you from page to stage, getting you out there and speaking about the experiences you've been through. And that is a very powerful thing. I mean, we've had a conversation before when we were talking about audio books and the power of when you listen to somebody's book narrated by the author themselves.
Oh, yes.
Real connection there. Tell us a bit more about your thoughts on that one.
I think it's an energy. When somebody comes from a genuine place, there's just that energy there, and that just can't help but resonate with something within each of us, even if it's not your story. But if you do hit the person that is doing, you aim at, that's incredible, I think. And I think if you only touch one person, if only one person gets affected, then that's all I want. If you help one person, I've always said that. But in effect, when you help one person, you're helping everybody because you've got that mentality all the time. So everybody you meet is that one person.
Yeah. And the thing is that the one person is far more than one person, I'm absolutely certain. But even if it is one person, the impact that you've had on that one person, the ripples go out from them.
Yes.
They're a changed person and they can make a difference to the people in their sphere. And then it ripples out more and more. That's the exciting thing I feel about the Making a Difference book.
Yes, and that's what I love about you, Wendy. But yes, it does. It ripples out, and it's like they say kindness. They've actually done a study that shows that kindness, if one person is kind to another, and the other person is kind to the next, and the other person is kind to the next, then that person is kinder to the next person. So, and they've studied this with control groups. It's a scientific study. And, if that's with kindness, imagine if you have a message to share that could really ultimately affect somebody.
Absolutely. Well, the thing is, whether it's kindness or whether it's, I'm not going to say what yours is, let's not spoil things, but everybody's chapter in the book has a really particular message that is really empowering, so that the reader can go away with, oh, I can see me in that. I can see that is powerful enough for me to go, if they can make a difference going through that experience, similar to mine, I can relate. I can make a difference too. And as you say, the kindness, whatever it is, pays it forward.
Ripples along.
Yeah, it's really exciting, isn't it?
It is exciting.
So with that empowering thought, I'm going to ask you, one of the things that I'm very keen on, and you as a writer I trust will resonate with this, is the importance of scripts. Now, I'm talking here about those internal scripts, the ones that you say to yourself, because, and I'm sure you've experienced this in your previous incarnation as the very, very anxious person. You were giving yourself you were telling yourself certain things. Your internal scripts were at one level. And now, having been to the bottom of the stairs and come back up again, you've got different scripts that you're able to tell yourself. So I'm curious, do you have an empowering internal script that you could share with us?
Live from that different place. And I think, live from a different place. And that's what I do. I live from a different place, a place of peace, and I do everything I can in my lifestyle to foster that. Nobody's perfect, and we all have days when we're not, but live from a different place and just recognize that if you can, everybody you meet, you can make a difference, whether it's by smiling at them or being kind. You get so much from that as you get back. I volunteer at a hospice, and I get so much from that, much more than they probably get from me being there. But it's just that, and that's not why I do it. but that is, it's a feeling like no other, and that just reinforces everything I believe in.
Live from a different place.
Okay.
From a different place from the not so happy place.
No, not the happy place, not the anxious place, not the fearful place. And it's pretty much fear. Don't live from fear, live from a place of love and compassion.
Live from a place of love and compassion. And you also mentioned the word peace being very important to you.
Yes.
So love, compassion, and peace. What a wonderful, wonderful combination. So you're holding on to that place and living from that place. That's lovely. Thank you so much for sharing that. That was one of those goosey bump moments.
Thank you.
Okay, now we are launching the book on the 8th of the 8th for the majority of the world. Those in North and South America will pick it up on the 7th of August. But we'll pop all the information in the show notes for this, including how you can come along to the launch party and also how you can connect with this gorgeous author, not only in this book, but in other work that she's done as well. She's got a website, you've got various other links that you can catch her on. So that information will all go in the show notes at the bottom of this recording. So, are we ready? It's countdown to making a difference, ways to magnify abundance, vitality, and freedom. We'll see you on the other side.
Lovely. Thank you. Bye.